In today's video, I'm going to go through the 10 essentials and why I think it is the best list to start from when building your survival kit. Stick around. All right, it is another hot, buggy, swampy day here in Ohio. The poison ivy is blooming, the ticks are crawling, the skeeter bugs are flying. It's a great day to be in the woods. So what I want to do is I want to go through the 10 essentials, and the reason I'm going to go through this is because very recently I just did a video on the 10 C's by Dave Canterbury and the Self-Reliance School, and I went through that list, showed some items that I would pick if I was building a lightweight 10 C's kit, and then I talked about a few of the issues that I had with it and what I thought were kind of a flaw with that particular list. Now in that video I mentioned and talked a little bit about the 10 essentials. And a lot of people have been commenting on that video, stating kind of the same things that I felt about it, that the 10 essentials is kind of where they started, how they were trained, and that they felt it was a good list as well, and people wanted to see a video on that. So this is kind of a response to that video. So go back, check that out, as it's definitely a good kind of basis for this one. But this is solely going to be talking about the 10 C's and why I feel it's just a great list to build a survival kit. So if you're not familiar with the 10 essentials and that particular list, my understanding is that it came about a very long time ago, early 1900s, maybe 1930s, somewhere in that range. Mountaineering Club came up with it. It was a list that they could provide to membership. So when they are going out mountaineering, they would have a basis of gear that they'd be taking with them to quote unquote keep them safe in the event of spending a night out in the wilderness. So that list has never gone away. It has been continually updated, developed. I actually have a book from the Sierra Club. I think it's a second edition from 1969 that talks about the 10 essentials, and it goes through what they recommend, and then further in the book it's a basic guide to mountaineering. There's all kinds of information about land navigation and climbing and gear, and fantastic resource, very cool old book. But the basis of that list, the 10 essentials, it doesn't go away. It is still timely, it still matters. So when you're thinking about the 10 essentials and you're looking into it, the 10 essentials is not a specific one item list. It is a category. So the 10 items are actually 10 subcategories that may have multiple items within them to create the system. So you're not relying upon one thing. There may be additional items that go along in that category. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and read through this list and go through this pack and show you what these items are and what I feel are probably really good choices, at least for my area and for what I do out in the woods. So first thing on the list is navigation. Now when they're talking about navigation, they are talking about compass. It could be GPS, it could be maps. All those things kind of go together. And what I like to carry, of course, is a map of the area, depending on where I'm at. But I also carry a navigation kit with me. This is a very basic Sunto base plate compass, but it works perfectly. And then, of course, I've got my Write in the Rain notebook to go along with that, a pen. And then if I'm working with maps, I like to use a UTM grid reader and a magnifying glass just to help me with my eyes. So that is part of my navigation system. Second item on the list is headlamp and batteries. And in the newer editions, they specifically say that. So A lot of different brands out there. This is one that I like to carry. This is a Princeton Tech. I think this is the Bite. And then I carry some extra batteries in one of these little battery packs. You might as well have extra batteries because you never know when the batteries in your headlamp are going to go bad. So having backups is important. And of course, I like a headlamp that is small, lightweight, so it doesn't create a lot of fatigue or strain on my head, but also has a red light, so it doesn't kill my night vision when I'm hiking at night or doing any kind of land navigation at night. Third thing on the list is sun protection. Now that is very specific to mountaineering. Of course, if you've been in the mountains, you know how critical that is with the glare and the amount of sun you are exposed to in high altitudes. And so right now here in the eastern United States in the woodlands, that is not a big of a concern, but I am wearing my boonie hat that protects my bald head. So if any guys out there with a head of hair like mine or lack thereof, a hat is definitely a good thing to have with you to protect your head, because sunburns really suck and will really deplete you if you're out in the woods. So hats, sunglasses. Next item on the list is probably the biggest item that I think really differs from the 10Cs, and it's kind of where I drew my biggest issues with the 10Cs, and what I consider to be a fatal flaw of the 10Cs is that it really doesn't address first aid. And first aid, to me, with my background, my training, is so important. You want clean dressings to prevent infection. You want packaging that is easy to get into, and you want to be able to treat not only minor scrapes and cuts, but also major trauma, especially if you're in the woods handling knives and axes and saws and firearms. You need to have a really decent kit that is going to treat that kind of stuff. So let me show you what I have in here. Now, I always carry a minor first aid kit. This is for boo-boo type stuff, and of course it's all very standard items, but I like to keep it in a waterproof or water resistant baggie of some sort. And I've got all sorts of things in here: tape, bandages, gauze pads. I have a tick identification guide, which is fabulous, especially here in Ohio. I'm identifying what kind of ticks are on me. Of course, gloves are really important. And then I also keep things like lip balm and some Tylenol. So that all fits in this kit. And then also moleskin. And then the other part of my first aid is some type of trauma kit that I can get to very quickly. Now this pouch in this kit, I just got this from a company called Rhino Rescue. They are on Amazon, and they are really making some very cool, well thought out, affordable first aid equipment. So far I've been really impressed with what I have. This is their newest kit. This is a Cordura pouch that comes with a tourniquet that is strapped to the outside to the bottom with shock cord, so you can easily get that off. But what you do is you pop that buckle, rip that open, and then grab this handle and pull this out, and this is your blowout kit. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look. We have hemostatic gauze. We have compression gauze. And we have an emergency bandage, which is probably very similar to an Israeli style bandage, with instructions. So it's all right there, very easy to get to. Of course, the next item on the list is the knife. Talked about this in the 10Cs video. Pound for pound as a fixed blade knife, the SE4, you cannot go wrong with it. Of course, there are many other great knives out there. Mora Garberg is a fantastic knife. I have several different types of knives, but if I was to pick one for an all-around survival pack that I can take anywhere and do any kind of task with. The SE4 does a fantastic job. Love this knife. Very comfortable in the hand, especially with the new 3D grip handles that they come out with, and has a good sheath system too. Now, like I said, this is not just a one item list. These are more components. What I would suggest is with that 4-inch fixed blade knife that is going to give you the ability to do different kinds of wood processing, you want a smaller tool as well. And I prefer a good multi-tool. And this is actually probably my favorite multi-tool of all the ones that I own. I own a lot. They're in all my packs and gear, but this is the one that I grab all the time. This is the Leatherman Sidekick. It's got the spring-loaded needle nose, which is really fantastic, operating one-handed, which is important. But the nice thing is you have a good small utility blade, so you can do some precise small cuts with that, whittling, whatever. But it also has a decent saw. And then, of course, just all the other tools that come with multi-tools. You know, there's some different types of bit drivers and screwdrivers, things like that. Can openers, bottle openers, that. So it's a minimalist tool, but it is a little more, has a little more capability than a Swiss Army knife. And having those pliers, I think, is really key for me when I'm out in the woods. Next big item on the list is fire. And fire is never one thing. It's not just a ferro rod. It should be multiple things, backup items. And I like to carry this little kit. I showed this in an earlier video called my Possibles Pouch video. This has fire making capabilities, ferro rod, lighters, matches, man-made tinders, fire bellows, all those different things that are going to help me get a fire going, because fire is such a crucial key component of survival. It is the one thing that can help you boil water. It is a mood lifter. It will help keep animals away and out of your camp, especially things like coyotes. So fire. Next on the list is shelter. Talked about this in the last video, the 10Cs. I prefer a poncho for a day trip or day hiking shelter option. And the reason for that is it gives me the ability to cover myself while I'm hiking if it's raining, so I can keep myself dry. I don't have to carry extra jackets with me, but it can be deployed very quickly, very easily into a shelter. Of course, if you've been in the military, you know this, you've done this in the field. It's a great option down below for that. So I keep that tied up with some bungee cords. The bungees are my tie outs on the side. I'll have this in a video you can look at. And then along with your shelter kit, you need to have cordage, so 550 cord for our ridgeline. I like to carry pre-made stakes. These are just the kind of cheap Walmart ones with some gutted 550 cord on the ends of them for pulling. And then as an option, I really like these Night Eyes figure 8 little carabiners that hook to the end of your tarp, and it helps you get tension on that ridgeline. So this makes for a very nice, quick setup of a tarp or poncho. Okay, the last 3 items on this list are very different than what was in the 10Cs. And this is where it really starts getting deviating from that Dave Canterbury list, and why I kind of like it, because to me, these next 3 categories are really things that are going to help you be comfortable and safe. So the first one is extra food. Food, of course, is one of those items that we talk about not being a necessity. You know, a human being can go, I think, what is it, like 3 weeks or so without food. safely. You're going to deteriorate very quickly though, and you're not going to be able to do tasks like cutting wood or building a fire, building a shelter, things like that if you are starving to death. So having food is once again a morale booster, but also it gives you energy. It helps you stay warm. Eating before you go to bed at night when it's cold out and you're sleeping outside, it has a benefit to it. So I like that the 10 Essentials covers that. And what I like to do is I like to put together a small mess kit of easy to eat and cook items. So there's a variety of things in here. So I've got some beef jerky, little meat sticks, so I got my protein. I've been experimenting and trying out some of this new stuff from Nutrient Survival. Fantastic company, really good people, all US based, but they have just some really unique products. So this is a liquid nutrient mixed berry, so I could add that to water. Of course, I have a coffee pack. This is vitamin coffee, classic roast, so that's an instant coffee. I have their peanut butter bar meal. So this is hearty rolled oats, organic brown rice crisps, milled flaxseed, and roasted peanuts. 40 essential nutrients. Really a good tasting, filling bar that's going to give you some energy. And then a couple of different options for food. This is something that you can add to hot water. This is hearty lasagna. So I can mix that up in a cup. And then this is called Special Ops Rocks, this is kind of unusual. It's a rich dark chocolate bites in a camouflage colored candy shell. So kind of a pick-me-up, high energy snack. So just making yourself up a little, food bag like this can go a long way and really help out if you have to spend the night in the woods. And if you're day hiking, you should be replenishing your calories anyway, so having extra food is a good thing. Next on the list is water, and they say extra water. Now this category, this really gets into a bigger subset. There's a lot of different things that you need to carry with you. Of course, you're going to want to carry water that you can drink immediately. So you should have at least a couple liters of water in an Nalgene or some type of water bottle in your pack. So I carry a couple of these with me. But very similar to the 10 C's where they talk about a container, I always want to have some kind of metal container with me so I can boil water, but also I can heat up water to make that coffee and make that lasagna that I'm bringing from Nutrient Survival. Now what I like is, I really like these little 750 milliliter titanium cups. This is from Wild Camping International. Had this for a very long time, but it's great because it's got a bail on it, so I can put it over a fire, hang it from a stick, or I can use it on a stove. Has a lid. I can boil my water in this to treat it, or I can boil water to make food with. So weighs hardly anything, and it nests perfectly on my water bottle. So why not have something like this in your kit? And then the other component for water is I really should have some type of water treatment system. There's a lot of different options out there. Of course, you can go with a Sawyer filter with bags, or you can go with water treatment tablets like these Katadyn micropures, and then treat those either in your water bottle or in a whirl bag that is appropriately sized for these tablets. Basically what you do is you fill these up, put the tablet in, let it sit for, I think, it depends on which tablet you get. Some are 30 minutes, some are an hour. Once that sits, it'll kill all the nasty bugs in your water. So having something like this, I like this because it's lightweight. But of course the Sawyer filters are fantastic, and of course now the new Grails are out. That's been out for a while. Those are a great option as well. A little bit heavier, but you can treat water very quickly and on the run, which is fantastic. And then the very last item on this list is extra clothing. Now, extra clothing is going to be really dependent on your environment and your activity. It is the start of summer here in Ohio. It is hot. I don't need a lot of extra layers, but there are a few things I should have with me in case I do have to spend the night or if something happens. So what I like to do is have a little dry bag, and then I keep, of course, extra socks. Fantastic. Your feet get wet from sweat. You need to change your socks at night, keep them dry. I also like to keep a large shamag cotton material. This way I can wrap this around my head, my neck. I can soak it in water, and I can wrap that around me and keep that, keep myself cool, or I can keep myself warm with it. So it's a great option. And then the other item I like to have is an insulating layer of some sort. Because even in the evenings right now, the temperatures are fluctuating. So in the day, it's like in the 70s. But at night, just the other night, it was down in the 30s. So if I had to spend the night in the woods with my tarp, sleeping on the ground, I'm going to want something to keep me warm. So my insulating layer is a woobie hoodie jacket. If you're not familiar with these, there's a couple different companies that make these, but it is basically a woobie style material, like the woobie blankets that the military issues, turned into a jacket, a lightweight hooded jacket. And these are fantastic layering options. I wear these in the wintertime under my shell, but in the summer or the spring, it will keep you warm. This one is made by Zulu, and it's in the woodland camo, but it's a zip-up hoodie. It has pockets. Of course, it has knitted cuffs, so it helps retain the heat, but it has a nice, good, generous hood on it. And that is very lightweight and rolls up, and I just throw that in a stuff sack, and then that's it. Yeah. Now, the one thing that really isn't on the list as a category, and I can't remember if it's included in with something else like navigation, but signaling. This is a huge component if you're really worried about getting lost and being found. If you're not signaling, it's going to be harder for searchers to find you. And you really need to have multiple ways of signaling in case you're lost. So what I like to do is, in this little Possibles kit, I have a signal mirror. And you can see already that's reflecting the sun very nicely. So that is good for ground to air, but you can even use it to grab someone's attention in the woods. So if I'm sitting here on the ground because I've broken my leg and I really can't move, and I see someone coming, if I can grab the sun, I can direct that towards them and create a flash, and they will see that from a great distance. The other item, of course, with signaling is a good whistle. You should have some kind of whistle. This is from Tops Knives. This comes with a lot of their knives. It's a good whistle. Doesn't take up a lot of room. And then another item which I love for signaling is some type of marking device. This is a signal panel marker. I got this from 5 Call Survival Supply. And what's nice about this is it's lightweight. It's very bright orange. You can create a flag with it, wave that flag, someone's going to see you. You can hang it from a tree or a branch, so at a distance, if a search team is coming through, that is going to stand out in all this green. So having something like this in your kit, I think, is a great idea. That is the kit. That is the 10 essentials plus the one item that I think, or one category that I think need to be added, which is signaling. So it puts you at 11. If you have these items with you, I feel you're covering all the bases. Please check out the affiliate links down below, including the Facebook group. We're well over 7,000 members. I think it's like 7.5, 7.6 thousand people on the Facebook group. So a lot of people posting content on there. Check out Instagram for extra photos and videos, and check out the webpage, preparedwanderer.com. Blog articles on there. And as always, thank you so much. We'll see you next time on The Prepared Wanderer.